So thanks everyone for joining us today. Appreciate this. It's always, I think, best to hear from the customers directly. That's what Connect is all about, and so we appreciate all of you taking the time to come up here. So why don't we start with Alex? You're from Sunoco with an O,
Yep.
right? And so tell us a little bit about your experience as a customer. How long have you been a customer, and what does Sunoco do?
Well, Sunoco, we're a packaging solutions provider. Today, we're a little bit over 6 billion, a little bit over 300 plants across the globe. Industrial and consumer businesses. Our flexibles division, of course, will be under the consumer division, and 2,400 employees. That relationship, I guess I will answer it in this way, which I'm a little bit new to the relationship with your organization, but your product has survived 3 CEOs and 3 CIOs. So I would say it's a pretty good track record, right?
Yes. Yes. That's that's how long a period of time is that we're talking
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, Sunoco has, we're getting closer to our 125th year, late 1800s. The company was founded by the Cocker family. We're a public company. So, but yeah, so 15 years using your product. So our relationship, I would say, it's quite young, right? But we're looking forward to.
Yes.
But I would say also we kind of were one of your first customers, or
Yes.
So.
Okay, that's great. And Tarek, how about on your side? How long have you been a customer of ours? And tell us a little bit about WestRock.
Indeed. So it's interesting. I think we signed our first contract in 2007, and the person that signed that is somewhere in that audience. So similar to Sunoco, about 15 years that WestRock has been a customer for EPS and EFI prior. Me personally, I've been there for about 2 years. Company itself is quite a wide spectrum of paper and packaging products, anything from paper rolls to corrugated, consumer packaging, and then machineries. Those are our core 4 principal division, about 20 billion global company. Similar footprint, 300 plus plant, and about 37 to 38 mills today that we operate on. And Radius, which was the first product that was brought in 2007, has a primary space in our consumer packaging business. Roughly about 50% of our revenue run through Radius platform.
Oh, wow.
And similar to what Alex said, right? It's really it's been there for that long, and it's really survived various comparison with different products in the industry, various curiosities. As recent as last year, we took on a really thorough analysis of, is there something else in the marketplace that can do what we expect to do in the future. And time again, it's proven that it is a unique product that not only meets the capability that we require today, but has a vision for what we want to be in the future.
Okay, thanks. So, Bob, we'll just keep going down the line here. And
Sure. We'll have a 22 years relationship right now with EFI, now eProductivity. But I think if you look at what happened in the last 10 years, we went to PACE. That was a big change to move to something more open API with you all. We've just earlier last year, we passed our 200,000th job on PACE. Our millionth online order, and we're a marketing supply chain. So we use the suite, when you start looking at that, and I think that's what's really helped us grow from a $1 million company to an 87 million. We're a small company up here compared to everybody else, but more in line with a lot of the companies here that are that use your software. So large format, heat set web, sheet fed, digital printing, fulfillment, and so 2 locations in Nashville and Phoenix, so we can cover the country in about a day to 2 days on ground. So.
Great. And so finally, Al, we were talking to Al before that, I've known Al now for about 11 years, and he's worked at quite a few different EFI customers, what were EFI customers, now EPS customers over the years, and so he has a lot of history with the product set. But tell us a little bit about Aurora and what's going on there?
So Aurora Visual is probably best known as the mother company, so to speak, of Integracolor out of Dallas. And Hagen OA was originally installed in 1998 and then progressed through the whole product suites and upgrade. Aurora Corporation is an Australian company that purchased several U.S. plants. The Garvey Group out of Chicago, and then we have plants in Orange County and in New Jersey as well.
Okay, very good. So I'll switch it around a little bit here, and let's go back to Bob and say, so you mentioned that that Pace has helped you grow your business, or the mid-market suite, specifically the full suite capabilities, but tell us a little bit about how it's done that. How has it changed your business around?
Well, I think when you look at usability, and I think user experience for a lot of the people who have come on board have really no experience in our industry, right? So, you're taking somebody from a retail, maybe a restaurant that has some education, education, maybe not the most sophisticated in what's going on in our business, but the client service part of it and being able to operate through it, and more intuitive, easy to follow. They can open several windows and get to an area and follow through it. I think it's been really excellent. And I look at it from when we put it in. Like I said earlier, we were doing 32 million, so that's 10 years ago when we put ePace in. And so this year, right at we did 87 million. So when you look at that growth, I don't know if we could have been able to handle that growth with, when we were on PSI, of course, but it was just a much more easy way to train and get people to be adaptive internally. And so I think that's really what's easy about it, the ease of use for our operators and people who use it.
Okay, thanks. And let's pop back to Alex here. We've gone through a pretty big change here at EPS with the spin out from EFI. What have you seen, if anything, in terms of changes in the way that the EPS team relates to your company, interacts with your company, and so on? And has it changed?
Yeah, I guess I will answer that one a little bit differently, because the answer will be, so far it has been great working with Alex and your team. But I guess I will answer it more on what are we looking for, right? I think over the last 24 months, all of us have experienced, if you have watched that show Yellowstone, right? How many suppliers we didn't want to send to the train station, right? So, or carriers, or, so we truly need a partner that, I have 3 rules when I work with a solution. And I apologize for my IT colleagues here, but if I don't need to ask for a budget, if I don't need to call IT to make it work, and I can configure it myself, you have a good solution in front of you. So that's where we need to get to, and I'm very excited with some of the things that I'm seeing today, or over these past 2 days, on trying to make the solution more configurable, that the user is at the front, right, and that we don't depend on IT. IT is critical for the organization, but we lose accountability from the process owners to make some of our systems work as we expect. So we're truly looking for a partner that will help us grow. The dependency of growth should not be on our ERP provider, right? So the agility help us gain velocity, right? And I truly believe the answer is going to be on, working and optimizing the integrations that we have with other systems, because over the last, 24 months, it is very evident that it doesn't matter if you were a $60 billion company or a $6 million company, we all suffer from the pandemic. I think on labor, if you count all the statistics in this country, we lost 10% in a matter of 6 months, right, of our labor. So we have less people to work on your system. Sustainability is a big play, but not the sustainability that Allison referred to, I guess it was yesterday. Sustainability on how do we replicate the processes, e-learning for the solutions and models that you have, right? So someone new comes and we don't depend because we might not have that labor tomorrow, right? So a little bit similar to what you were alluding to on. So I think it's just we need to continue the partnership that we have. The more presence and time that we spend together, I think we'll get to the place where we need to be, right? But clearly, demand planning is a big issue for the industry. It took us 6 months to drain the pipeline, and not even with 6 months of inventory, right? Those ones that had it, now they're calling it the devil, right? Because the prices are coming down, and now you don't know what to do. So planning is a big issue, and we need to resolve it.
So Tarek, let's go to you. You're, like Sunoco, you're a very large organization. How we had the change here. How have you seen that change, and how, what kind of job do you think EPS does for an organization the size of WestRock?
So for us, the last 12 months has a noticeable difference, right? And what I witness is the velocity of the change that you're driving in your product. What used to be a conversation and a skepticism, right, has turned to a degree in a reality. I have members in my team that would come often to me and say, we better hurry up because this product is evolving faster than we ever expected, right? So when I look to this last 12 months, it's evident that any type of R&D focus that you've provided, product development that you've provided to the platform has really stood apart from the previous years in terms of pace of change, in terms of velocity of the features and capability that we've seen in the past. It very much aligns to our vision, right? We're looking for a partner that can fit in the broader ecosystem of WestRock, right? Alex mentioned, we do see a unique place for capability that comes with modules like eFlow, whether it's AC4D, whether it's print flow. So it's extremely important for us to have a product that works well and integrates well, both from a process as well as systems perspective. Very important for us to have a vision where a company and a product is moving technically towards cloud as well. Right? And we see that, and for me, the last 12 months has been phenomenal to watch the growth of the product and the capabilities that are coming out.
That's good to hear. So let's switch back to Al now. And I think both Alex and Tarek referred to some of the changes or challenges of the pandemic, and obviously labor is something we've talked about, but supply chain is obviously something that everyone is feeling the pain of. A big piece of managing supply chain is material management and shipment management at your facilities. How has EPS helped you with that? That aspect of these supply chain challenges.
With Monarch being the system of record, we heavily relied on inventory management module, and we were asked for a lot of reports that either didn't exist within Monarch or that we needed to enhance to get down to the actual, that specific product or that specific substrate that the work was being printed on. So customer by customer, product by product type analysis of data. And then that led to executive level conversations, even visits at our facility or the paper mills by senior leadership to negotiate contracts and commitments and purchases, things like that. We also have a lot of integrations that the EPS products help us with both the API and the automator to help us, confirm that we do have the specific materials on site. Because generally, especially with 4 plants, we have some national buying contracts, but we need to know, and some of our estimates are specific. They're not, down to the wire. So a lot of that data lives within the job. And so pulling that historical data per customer by job of all those different materials gave leadership the ability to pinpoint, get laser focused on what we needed and when and how much. And then that led to the commitments to keep our customers happy.
Okay. So, Bob, let's pivot a little bit to the future now. We've talked about some of the challenges of the pandemic. Yesterday, I had Ford up on stage, and I put him on the spot in terms of where he saw some of the things coming in the future. What do you think are going to be the, what's your prediction of the challenges that the industry is going to be facing in the coming years, and what you're expecting out of the technology to help you address those challenges?
Yeah, I think of course, we don't even want to talk about the labor and all that. That's old news, really. So, I think what it is easy use and training. I mean, training is going to be the big one going forward. To do more automation. Right now, 80% of our jobs are e-bill. In other words, an invoice is made automatically on 80% of the jobs from the start to the finish. And so anything where you can take systems out and make it completely scalable as we do other acquisitions and repeatable. And I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to have these connective modules. Print flow is a big one for us. Process shipper. We ship 10,000 online orders a month. That all that type of thing needs to feed in and just continue to take all the drama out of production, so that we can see visibility where we're going to go in the future. And I think, that partnership that we've seen it. I have seen the speed also since the acquisition, since you guys have moved away from EFI. Your speed has helped us get there, and I think that will help us get there in the future faster.
Okay, that's good. And Tarek, so Bob was mentioning some of the integrated products. I think you guys have been deploying AC4D to help your team address some of the supply chain challenges that we talked to Al about. I think we got a lot of common themes across this. But how has AutoCount 4D helped with some of your supply chain challenges?
So we don't have a scale yet, right, where we could say, hey, here are the 3 things or 4 things that we've really solved from it. What we do see clearly, even on the first few pilots that we've done, is user experience, right? Absolutely a differentiating factor from a user experience perspective. And I was thinking about the COVID situation you were asking. For us, the biggest learning has been we can't stay stagnant, right? I wish that we had the product that are on the shop floor today during the COVID time. I wish we had those products in a lot larger scales than we did. Our challenges would have been a lot simpler. So for AC4D, I see the vision that we have being enabled through that product. And 2 things that it brings us the most on the shop floor is user experience. We also leverage that to a degree for a certain level of alerts and automations that are key to what we will see going forward.
So Alex, since we're on this connectivity thing with all the different applications, and supply chain management, how have you been able to deploy Radius and the suite around it to help with your supply chain challenges?
Look, we're in that process. I will tell you that, we don't like what has been going on for the last 24 months, but it feels pretty cool to me because I've been doing this for 25 years, and only until the last 2 years, it feels like I'm like the last beer in the stadium, right? Because it's like the chupacabra concept. Everyone's talking about supply chain, but no one truly has seen it strategically working in many instances. Companies do not understand the value of supply chain. It's fragmented across the organization. So 6 months ago, before this role, I was leading the consumer businesses for the company on a supply management perspective. And I was asked by the executive team to design supply chain. And the first challenge was asking them if they were really interested in supply chain and invest in data. Because supply chain is nothing without data. So that's where Sonoco Flexibles, that's where we're starting. So, in supply chain, as far as I know, we only follow 3 flows: information, materials, and money. And that's where your company is supporting us. We have had tremendous support. I can tell you that in less than 6 months, we have been able, we're using a BI tool called Click, where we connect with your solution. And in 6 months, I can tell you that shop floor, we can see anything by the minute. If something goes down, by an operator, and we can see all our inventories. Because that's the big thing today.
Right.
So we're starting with data, and then we're going to need to get into processes before we start and continue deploying, so we can do it effectively. Deploying some of the solutions that we have, the one that we have right now, we don't have auto count, but we have print flow.
Yeah.
And we have it into plans, so we will need to deploy it in the rest of the plans.
Right, so have you tied in the material management and shipment tracking the way Al was talking about as well?
No, because the approach that we took was to get to a kind of control tower for PL. That's the part that I've been doing most in my career, right? Logistics for me is a passion that comes and goes, and we have connected that. In that one, I can tell you we're at a point where there's in a system raising a hand that says, wait, please wait, I have a pallet that's going in that direction, and that's what we need. Right? You want a system that stress-free. And stress-free, what I mean is you don't worry anymore when you get in your car and if you're going to run out of gas, right? Because there's a light that's going to pop up. That's the type of systems that we need to deploy in the industry now to be more effective. So.
Okay. Very good. So Al, one of the things that you, I believe, have been using quite a bit has been the eFlow Automator to do some connectivity work. So, how have you used that, and and what is your long-term goal in terms of using that tool for connectivity?
Our initial business purpose for buying it and implementing it was to enable EDI. We have several customers that are in that space that want us to receive orders, provide invoices, ASNs, order confirmation. What it grew out from there, though, was really to enhance some of the legacy type functionality of Monarch. And it sounds really silly, but it's like automated email. The automator's unlimited with what you can define as a trigger, with who you send a message, an attachment. So an example is we're using it to create a letter of quote and generate that to PDF and send it back to either internal resources or salesperson. We're not sending it directly to customers, but we're also using it to create a new jobs list and send to our ESCO prepress engine so that the operators don't have to key in job numbers and things like that. So really the sky's the limit on what you want to do. It's a little bit challenging of a product because it's good because it can do anything. It's bad because you have to define what you're going to do and build it out. It's not really very templated, but it's super powerful. And then also with that in conjunction with the API, Monarch API, we've used that to, we have a lot of legacy applications, e-commerce, some internal tools, and those were written years ago just directly to the database. So there are very little guardrails, record locking issues, things like that. So we're slowly converting all those to go through the API to then put guardrails around that, make certain fields required, or just follow that business logic that exists already in Monarch instead of just inserting into the database and hoping it works.
Yeah. That's interesting. So it sounds like you guys have come up, those are really your team's inventions, it sounds like, based upon having that as the tool set. So your team was, or you and your team were able to come up with those ideas about how to adapt the tool set for those specific purposes, right?
Yeah, and the more we expose the business to it, the more ideas that other people in the business have. You know, it's almost like you need a Tech Tuesday or something just to, you know, get the message out to everybody in the company. Because as soon as the people that are actually, you know, doing the work and using Monarch and using the ecosystem with Process Shipper and fulfillment and things like that, the more ideas they come up with what they want to use it for. So it's really a powerful tool.
That's great. That's great. And so, Bob, you'd mentioned before that you do a little bit of a lot of different, or well, actually you're 87 million, so you do a pretty decent amount of a lot of different things.
Right.
How many plants are you?
So we have 2 plants, one in Nashville, one in Phoenix. I think, you know, why I liked Pace was the flexibility of being, you know, our clients, you know, Prisma was just a traditional 40-inch print shop, right, when I took it over 2000. And my background was multi-location businesses that needed the same thing, brand at the same location, except they wanted it to be branded for that location or customized for that location, but the same brand. And then being able to cost account for that location, right? So being able to do that, and that's how how we've grown, is to be able to be repeatable across the country, repeatable color, you know, that's what's, you know, and to touch all these different devices and be able to feed those, you know, clicks in, sheet count in, supplies in to Pace, buy product, and then being able to take and run it into an accounting software by department. I think that's where you start to look at what clients want. You know, they want fewer. They want you to take their chaos, and you're their traffic manager, and that's really how we've taken and changed our business in that model. So that's where we've had our success.
And so you do some packaging as well, I guess?
We do packaging. We don't use Radius. We use Pace. It works well. We have AutoCAD that we use, or
AutoCAD.
we use AutoCAD actually for CADing up, but we lay it out with metrics. Metrics is one of our components. All of our layouts go out of metrics into our larger jobs, and we're starting to use metric. We're looking at using metrics in wide format, and we also use some metric layouts for that are repeatable type things in digital.
And so what type of packaging? Is it folding carton?
Folding carton, yes, folding carton. We you know, we have auto count on our die cutters, on all of our presses, stitchers, and our mailing machines too.
Are you doing any corrugated on the large format devices?
We do some custom corrugated, you know, 200, maybe 400 boxes, 500 boxes, but again, all laid out, and it's all e-ticketed with Pace per location. You know, a job can change from 5 to 6 times from when the customer supplies it to you to the end. So we e-ticket everything. I'm still a big believer of printing out the e-ticket, and they read it, initial it, and drop it in the job bag as it travels through. But our spoilage is less than 0.5%. We track that, and so I feel that's, you know, that automation that we've worked with Pace to have that e-ticket style go through has helped us dramatically.
So are there other market sectors that you guys are also thinking about getting into beyond the, or you think you got enough for now?
We cut a wide swath right now, so I'd like to stay right where we are, and we're, you know, about 80%, 75 to 80% of our business is online and direct mail. The other 20% is that last traditional print and deliver jobs that have been part of our business, but slowly that will eventually fade, and it'll be the large part of our businesses: data, direct mail, and then our online supply chain.
Interesting. Let's pop back over to Tarek here for a moment. So you know, we just went through, Bob just went through a bunch of the different tools that are part of the mid-market suite stack, you know, including metrics and auto count and some others. So, you know, how have you found those those products were added later on to Radius. Radius, of all the different applications we have, that was the last one to get print flow and auto count integrated with them, with it. So how have you found that stack now, technology stack, with on the packaging side with auto count and print flow?
So for us, the WestRock itself is going through a drastic change, right? Where we used to be autonomously operated multiple segment companies to be one WestRock. And the timing couldn't have been better for us. So when I think about the product itself, if you look at 2007 when we started implementing the Radius itself with its older version of shop floor, its older version of planning or scheduling product, to today, it truly enables us to be unique where it matters. For us, it's utmost important to operate, proximity, user experience, and flexibility in the shop floor. Right? And as we centralize, we will see more and more central planning, central supply chain, central finance, right? Central customer service. But at the same time, the edge solutions, the stuff that sits close to the exit door where the product ships, has to be flexible and has to be unique. So the current vision and the way the product is composed today allows us that opportunity to leverage what I would call best in class on the shop floor and still integrate with tier one companies like SAP, which will be our future for anything of back office.
Yeah, so is WestRock looking at potentially integrating print flow, auto count in environments where Radius is not present, where you've got some other?
It's interesting. So we've made a choice not to invest in high-risk areas, even on a tier one ERP, and warehouse management is one of them. So we will continue to keep the inventory in the plant, in Radius. We will continue to pick and pack from Radius. So if I think about it, the operations where people will operate will be mostly in print flow, in an AC4D. We will have some light operations that will continue in Radius. Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe over the course of the next decade, it'll phase out as we implement standard warehouse management. But for us, the starting point will be, scheduling. How you schedule, where you make will continue to remain in a segment-specific product, which is where EPS will play for us.
Okay. So going back to Alex here, been a little time. So let me ask you a question about data, because there's, with all the different things we've been talking about, the material data, shop floor data, scheduling data, and everything, there's can be quite a lot of overload of a lot of data at your disposal. What does Sonoco do in terms of trying to get better visibility into that data and utilize that better inside of your organization?
That's a great question, Mark, because we, before, I will tell you, I'll give you an example, right? Back in the year 2000, I had an opportunity and engaged with an iconic transportation company in this country, Schneider Logistics. And I met Mr. Don Schneider, and he invited me back then, and he was really proud. I will never forget, of showing me his control tower. And his control tower was, at that time, the ability to look in a map at any point in time where a tractor was, okay? Now think about that today. Who is going to be sitting on a computer looking at a map and looking at tractors? But that needed to happen to start the transformation of what is needed today. So I'll go a little bit beyond visibility, because I think what at least we have learned is that everything starts with a strategy. It's not about a nice dashboard. It's not about a nice representation, which they sell, and they're good. But everything starts with a strategy. And I will challenge anyone here that if you have more than 8 metrics that you're using truly to run your business, you need to ask yourself if they're really the metrics, the KPIs, right? So starts with a need. I think we also have learned the hard way that there's a misunderstanding that, now we go back the opposite to IT, right? I'm saying, I love when I can do things not needing IT. But when things don't work, we go to IT, right? And I think that's not fair. The accountability of the data governance. So now we have these concepts of master data management. And we're so naive in many instances thinking that IT will help us resolve the quality of our data and will have the capabilities to identify that this is not foil, but it should be steel. They're not going to do it. The accountability relies on the process owner. They do have solutions and tools that can allow us to pick up, those situations, but they don't have that ability. So I think process accountability on the data, the governance of that data, which is not IT only, it's critical for the success, right? And then the last piece is that, it's like a strategy without a plan is nothing. A KPI without a process behind it to support it is nothing. I'll give you this other example. I have 25 years doing supply chain. I think I've wasted 20 chasing the output, as an example in transportation. We all love to track freight cost against sales, freight cost per mile, freight cost per, any unit of measure that you want, but that's the output. So what we have decided is to move more to behavior change metrics, and we build a process. 2 examples. Lead time. The sweet spot is 48 hours if you want to secure the best optimum rate. More than that, the carriers don't trust it, that you're really going to execute. And below that, you're going to pay a premium. So tracking that will give you the ability to reduce your cost. That's a root cause. Expedite achievements, consolidation, right? And we also have a responsibility, talking about sustainability, to reduce the carbon footprint, right? So what a cool way to tell one of your customers that you have been able to move less amount of materials, right? Or the same amount of materials in less number of miles run, right? So that's the kind of thing that we're doing for us, today is not only about, certainly the visibility brings the awareness, and that's a good point for change management, but we need to go beyond that, and we need to be smart about what we pick, and for each one of us that might be different, right? Depending on, what are the things that are hurting us more.
Yeah. Very interesting. And so, Al, let's pop back to you. So, Connect 2025, you're up on stage on another customer panel again. What do you think you're talking about then in terms of what EPS and Aurora have been working on during that over the next 2 years? What's kind of in the near-term horizon for what your next projects that you want to get involved in?
I would like to see the expansion of the footprint of the total suite, because we have challenges coast to coast for consistency in data input. We have challenges in estimating that a product like iQuote will help address if it's implemented properly and if our disciplines are applied properly. I think that Aurora has some history with print flow and auto count that went in, didn't work right, and got pulled out because we didn't have anybody championing the product or owning it. We had issues with various pieces of equipment and things like that. So I would just like to see us optimize and grow the footprint of the entire suite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we have a very large fulfillment section or area too that has a legacy implementation of Manhattan scale, which EFI used to sell as a portion of that, and we're really looking forward to replacing that with PrintStream.
Yeah.
So it's all in one ecosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like, a common theme here that we're, hearing from everybody is, I'll paraphrase to say the garbage in, garbage out problem when it comes to system implementation. And, so having an owner both for the for the deployment, the successful deployment of the system, but then even once the system's installed, making sure that you have ownership, that the data is going to be managed properly, get into the system, and that the systems are utilized in the correct form over the long term. Let's ask Bob. So, how has you were a PSI customer, as you said, back in the
Right.
in the old days, and moved to PACE, and now the mid-market suite. Have you had to face those challenges in your deployments over the years?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, we're all in a very complex business, right? So you're a manufacturer, you have VMI, vendor managed inventory, client owned inventory, finished goods. Is it up on the balance sheet? Is the data correct on that? You want to tie all that to your accounting and make sure it's sharp and correct. Right now I've gone from I was an owner of a company, and now I sold it back in July, so I'm private equity, so now it's EBITDA, right? So now it's a driven number differently than before, so I'm on a different plane now, and I got to be on that plane. So you're really going to start really saying, graphically driven tickets, so there's images of what's happening on the ticket. So, we have issues with people that don't read, right? We even test our people. Have you read the ticket? If you hit all the different items. I think as we go down the line, I think training is going to be the aspect, and I would like to see that happen here, with better this is great as a group, but being able to have video and training modules that come into so we can bring new people in, whether they're in fulfillment or whether they're going to be on a press or they're going to be using Radius or any of the different modules. How can we train them and it's consistent? And I think that's where, as a partner, future looking, I would want that to be one of the number one things coming from.
So online learning, basically.
Correct,
and
easily.
sounds like
Partner with you guys.
You two agree with that concept as well? You'd like to see that?
100%, and I think you have an opportunity with a solution that you have on the, I call it more maturity assessment, but I think you call it audit.
Yes.
So if you deploy your resources, go and do an audit, gap analysis, and then by doing so, you record the way your customer is using your solution, because we all have customized it a little bit. I think it's a great opportunity. The technology is there. You can just do a simple video in Teams and then give it to someone in your university team, right? And help, ask them to help you edit it and make it, in a format that is more user-friendly. But, I'll tell you one thing in addition that I would love to see in your product, because it's a great solution that you have. But I would love to see machine learning on your print flow. We will avoid a lot of back and forth of trying to do what-if scenarios. Let the solution learn the way you scale, and then the solution will tell you according to how you receive longer batches or periods of demand. Because today, none of us, I think, are receiving actual demand beyond 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We don't. But we're making promotions for Halloween today, right? That sounds a little bit challenging, right, on the planning side. So I think machine learning, AI, RPA, embedded in your suite, right, partnering with someone that has these solutions, but trying to help us identify those opportunities where we can add more value, gain speed and velocity. Our industry, at least on the flexible side, is very fragmented. Right? And the complexity relies in, we compete for every single order, right? So that brings a different challenge that when you have another side of the business where you have an 85% market share. You in a way, the velocity of things in the supply chain are a little bit different. So I think we are in that space. We're in a space that, a lot of us are a small fish in a big pond, right? So, for me, that's the exciting thing about this industry, right? That is keeping us always on check and making sure that we're providing the best solutions to our customers.
Sunoco's a pretty big fish, though. I mean, that's a...
But in the flexible packaging industry in North America is $20 billion.
Yeah.
So it's really big.
Yeah.
So that's the big pond that I would like to be a bigger fish, but it's not as easy, right?
Yes. Tarek, is there any kind of anything that you'd like to see beyond the online learning? If you had to, if you could tell Gabby, this is the product we want to see in the next, or the capability that we want to see in the next 5 years. What's
Sure,
kind of at the top
and
of
I
your
will
list?
resonate the training and learning. For us, the next 2 years or next 2 to 3 years, all about deploying this at 80 plus site. And training for us not only helps bringing the new talent, but it helps to retain the knowledge that was already shared at deployment, right? We often find ourselves going back and teaching what has been taught multiple times till people get it. So certainly, I think user experience training will go a long way. For us, if I think forward and say what would success look like for us 3 to 5 years from now, is ability to leverage scale in our network. And luckily, I don't have a topic off the mind that I don't see in vision of the product. But 3 to 4 years from now, what we would love to see is our users ease of use on the shop floor and in our user base, where they can transfer work from one location to the other and truly leverage our scale. Today, we do quite a lot of plan-to-plan transfer, but the way they get executed is not easy for us, right? And that is one of our biggest ambition. How do I leverage this entire ecosystem of geographic cluster or product type cluster in a way where I treat it as a seamless node through which we can operate?
Okay, well, I think on that note, we can wrap it up for today. I appreciate all the time from the four of you. It's been some very interesting things to learn about each of your companies and what you have to, your experiences with the EPS products. So I'm looking forward to many future connects, seeing you again, and getting status updates on how we're doing in the coming years. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.